made this chatter tool. Let me show you how to make one too. The key to the chatter tool to me is getting the right piece of steel. When I first got interested in the chatter tool many years ago, I looked around and I couldn't find the right piece of steel, because what you need is some high carbon spring steel. Then I found it hard to find. So basically I bought these replacement tips, but they're getting harder to find replacement tips, so people want to sell you the whole system. So finally it dawned on me, well, what if I use a Sawzall blade, because they're flexible, they've got to handle a lot of flexing. So a fellow in my club, Dennis, got me a piece of a Sawzall blade that's a 1/16 of an inch thick, and guess what? That's exactly the right size you need that matches the commercial ones. By the way, this commercial one is bent, but they don't have to be bent. This other one from another manufacturer is straight. And they come in different profiles. I'll draw you a picture of the different profiles in a moment and talk about grinding. So you basically take your Sawzall blade and cut it down to 2.5 inches long, 3/8 of an inch wide. Now there are other Sawzall blades, they may or may not work, that are thinner. I suggest going with one I know will work, and that's the 1/16 inch if you can find it.
You'll sharpen these very similar to the conventional scraper shown here, whether it's a rounded or a square end or a spear point. The angle is not real particular. It could be 50 to say 70 degrees. Just be sure to hone off the burr on top when you finish sharpening it.
Alright, let me show you the pieces you're going to need for this project. We've already talked about the Sawzall blade that you're going to make your blades out of. That's the major starting point. Next, you know, the way I made it, I made mine from the connector from a piece of conduit that somebody gave me. Maybe you know an electrician, maybe you know somebody in the maintenance field or something. That conduit is 11/16 of an inch on the outside. I don't know what you call that in the electrical world, but it's 11/16 of an inch. And you need a piece about 1 3/4 inches long. Next you need a dowel. And how big's a dowel? Well, it's got to be 11/16 of an inch. Now, if any of you go out there and buy a dowel, shame on you, because you're a wood turner. So turn your dowel 11/16 of an inch. It'll just fit inside the conduit. Next, you're going to need a 1/4 inch bolt. Now, if you're in the metric world, you know, find something that's equivalent. But it's got to be 3/4 of an inch long, and a 1/4 by 20 in the U.S. works well. It doesn't matter whether it's got a hex nut or a square nut. Heck, I've even made these things out of a shoulder bolt. Then obviously you need a piece of wood for the handle, about 1 3/4 inches, maybe 6.5 inches long. Now my favorite new handle size for small tools is this one right here. It's a standard old European style that I fell in love with when I bought a crown texturing tool, and I bought a set of crown thread chasers. So I've gone on to make a storyboard, and that's what I use for all these small handles now. I don't think I'm going to go through the whole routine on how you turn a handle. I've got another video. I'll have a link to turning this particular handle, but we're going to go through some of it quickly. So we mark center. We're going to turn this initially between the center to get it round, but rather than take the chuck off and put a center on it, this thing will fit inside the chuck. And then with this mark here, I can get it centered. And then I'm just going to put a tenon on this end, and that'll make it round, and that'll save me a one chucking operation. And spindle rough and gouge works good, but for one this size, you know, 1 inch, 2 inch skew will work good. Alright, now I'll put a tenon on it. That'll really fit my chuck. Okay, that's about where I Okay, now, next thing I want to do is I'm going to square off the end of this. I want to have enough dowel in here to support this, and then we're going to drill a hole in here. So I'm just going to take a pencil, and we're going to mark that down. Oh, I'm not sure how far that is. I can measure it. Oh, about an inch. I'm going to take that down to 11/16, so this will just slip over it. Okay, I've got a fairly good mechanical fit. It's a little on the loose end, but nothing that epoxy can't deal with. So we'll glue that up later. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and bring back tailstock support, and I'm not even going to worry about squaring that off because there's nothing going to touch it. So now I've got to get it down a little bit more on this end. So I'll use a skew and take peeling tape. So now I take my storyboards and have a feature here. Okay, I'm liking that. A little bit more around over here. Nothing the sandpaper can't take care of. Now let's come back here. Nice smoothing cut here. That bump out and I'll be there. I got lots of die. Now that I'm getting several handles, tools with these smaller handles, I'm going to die this handle so it'll be distinctive looking. Why not? I'm going to make it kind of a ugly green on top of this cherry. It's not going to look real green, but it'll be distinctive, and that's the main thing. That won't look like my others. I like this Chromacraft because it's got 10% shellac in it. It's pre-mixed. It'll probably be in my estate sale because I'll never get through all of it, so might as well use it some. We dye the handles at the club. The spindle handle's the same color blue, and the bowl gouge is green. So if somebody said, you tell them go get a spindle gouge out of the cabinet, and they'll say, "What's a spindle gouge?" And you say, "It's the one with a blue handle." I'm liking that. All right, we'll let that dry a little bit. It dries quick. Then meanwhile, I'll probably just go ahead and part it off and dye the butt end of it. I'm going to leave these gloves on. They'll rip off if they got caught, so it's not a safety hazard, but I'm not going to get anywhere close to it. But I want to leave them on because I'm going to mess with that dye again. I don't want to bother to take it on and off. Alright, let's part it off. Alright, that end I'll just touch up with a little bit of sandpaper, and then we'll re-dye it. So it turns out the dowel that I had, I think it came off an old chip brush handle, was just the right diameter. So that's where it's going to end. So from this picture that you can see here, you can see that the dowel, we're only going to use a little bit less than half of it. It's half of it minus the 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and just saw right here. And then come in about halfway. and I can sand it flat, get rid of a 1/16 of an inch if I have to. I guess I could have done this whole thing over the belt sander, but might have gotten it straighter or flatter, but I can clean it up on belt sander. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's reasonably flat. I'll go over there and hit it on the belt sander to get it uniformly flat. So I take the conduit, center punch a hole about 11 to 12 millimeters from the edge, and then we're going to go ahead and drill a 1/4 inch hole. Probably ought to use a little oil, but this is thin. Okay, time to mix up a little little epoxy. I use 5-minute epoxy for almost everything. It seems to work just fine for me. Okay, and we mix it up real good. The reason I have this sequence of drilling a hole is because I can, by doing it this way, it allows me to use that screw to get this thing flat. So we're going to put this on here liberally near the upper edges, knowing it'll probably get pushed on back. Got to move fast. A lot of glue there. More glue than I wanted. Okay. There we go. Now I can put this on the dowel. Actually, I'm going to put it on the bottom here. Get this screw up. Now on the screw, I can put this in here. Push it in as far back as it'll go. Now I can use the screw to squeeze this down flat. Like, you can't see that, but anyhow, it'll work if you do it that way. And that way, you got it set up under pressure and you got it sitting flat. And I can probably take just a touch of glue and put it on the edge here. Okay, now we'll give that a few minutes to set up. What I decided, if you go ahead and put one of your blades in there, you've got a flatter surface registering under that screw parallel. I usually use Minwax antique oil on everything, but I'm experimenting with Minwax wipe on poly, and I think it'll dry a little faster, so I think I'll go ahead and try that. Or actually, I think what I'll do is I'm going to put some lacquer sanding sealer on it, because I think that's the fastest drying finish I can put on it, and that's what I want. So let's just do that. So my motivation for this particular video, I was getting ready for a club workshop that I'm facilitating on Monday, doing twig pots and little flowers. And the flowers are chattered, and I thought, wait a minute, the club doesn't have any chatter tool, so I decided I had to make one of these for the club. I appreciate y'all's comments very, very much, so leave them in the comment section below. And just a reminder, I do give lessons in my shop in north of Atlanta. If you're in the area, feel free to contact me. Contact details are on my website. Remember, y'all stay safe and come on back, you hear?